Oh, pull it on.
Okay, everyone, good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board of Directors. We're going to start with our usual two administrative items. The first being, approval of minutes from the April 14th board meeting. Is that, before I even ask, I'm gonna take a motion to approve from Andrew. I'll take a second from Dr. Dan. Is there any discussion of those minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3. It's all the way over there. 4, okay, 4, 0, 0. All right, next is approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve? I saw Dan's hand go up first. Is there a second? I saw Andrew's hand go up second. Is there any discussion of tonight's agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving tonight's agenda? 4, 0, 0. And for Bill, we are underway. We'll just let him know I said that when he joins. Okay, before we get into our regular business and resident remarks, I do have a statement to read. I've run this by my colleagues on the board, those that are here, as well as Bill, who is coming back from soccer practice and hasn't joined yet. So I'm reading this on behalf of the Village Board, the Community Association Board. The Oakland Mills Community Association's Board of Directors learned of the outcome of the vote to remove Oakland Mills Columbia Council Representative Karen Emery from the Columbia Association Board of Directors at the same time as our residents and the general public. This puts us in uncharted territory. Each Columbia village is responsible for electing its CCR representative. Ms. Emery was elected to this position in our most recent competitive election and has retained this position per our bylaws by being an unopposed candidate in this year's election cycle. At our last meeting, the OMCA Board of Directors appointed Ms. Emery and the 5 voting members of our board to the fiscal year 2027 CCR and OMCA Board of Directors respectively, as required by our bylaws and election process. As Ms. Emery is still in her current term as our CCR representative and as such an ex officio member of the OMCA Board of Directors, she will continue to sit on our board at tonight's meeting as a non-voting participant. While the CCR normally appoints itself to serve as the Columbia Association Board of Directors, the CCR and the CA Board are distinct bodies. The CCR is elected by the villages and the CA Board is appointed by the CCR. We cannot discuss the matter of the CA Board of Directors both now and in the 2027 fiscal year because it is a potential legal issue. And with that said, I will move us to resident remarks. If you're online and wish to make remarks, please use the hand raise feature in Zoom, and we'll call you in the order that you're raising your hand. Meanwhile, we do have 3 people signed up in the room, and we will start with Jessica Nichols. It's been a while since we've had resident remarks. So for resident remarks, I'm not checking my Facebook or anything. I'm trying to find my timer. For resident remarks, everyone gets 3 minutes to make remarks to the board. So there's my timer. Okay, Ms. Nichols, you may begin.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Nichols. I'm running for County Council here in District 2. Just a couple of things about myself. I'm your 2024-2025 Howard County Teacher of the Year. I've been an educator for the last 21 years, and I've dedicated 11 of those 21 years right here and in Howard County, teaching first at Wild Lake High School and currently at River Hill High School. Teaching in both communities has mattered very deeply to me, because Howard County is not just one story. Every village has a name, every village has a story, and each are different, but they all come together beautifully. I've seen families that have been struggling to stay in the communities that they love. I've seen students struggle with anxiety about housing costs, food insecurity, and whether they have the same opportunities their parents once had. My commitment to this community has also extended beyond the classroom. I'm proud to say that I'm the founding board chairperson of Columbia Community Care, where, as you know, we've helped to feed over 150,000 people here in Howard County facing food insecurity and crises. I've also been a very proud advocate of, with, and for the Oakland Mills High School renovation, sometimes drawing a lot of ire, but always proud to stand with the Oakland Mills community. And I'm committed to making sure that those renovations get done when I become a member of the County Council. This is one of the reasons why Oakland Mills matters so much to me. Oakland Mills has always reflected some of the best parts of Howard County, Diversity, connection, compassion, and the belief that strong communities are built when people show up for one another. But I also want everyone to understand that I know how deeply we are feeling squeezed by high taxes, high costs, and also seniors wanting to know how can we stay in our places, in our homes. Young families not understanding how can we afford to even live here, much less build a future here. And too many people who feel like the government has stopped listening to them. These experiences have taught me something important, that Howard County doesn't need performative leadership. It needs leadership rooted in real life, leadership rooted in the community. And that's why I'm running for county council. I bring both policy knowledge, as I am an economist, and real on-the-ground experience as I've worked in food insecurity here in Howard County. I understand budgets and policy, but I also understand people. This role requires both an understanding of policy and showing up consistently, and I've done both.
30 seconds.
I'm honored to have the endorsements of Dr. Opal Jones, C. Vernon Gray, and the Howard County Education Association, along with the police, the firefighters, and also LIUNA, a local labor union, because they understand that service, leadership, trust, and showing up consistently for community is what matters. I'd be honored to have earned your support, and I'll hang around if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in the online queue? I'll go back and forth between online and
Not that I
in-person.
see, no.
Okay, then next up we have Alex Hakimian.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you, Jonathan, for your opening remarks on the situation with the CA board. Having been a CA board member myself for about 9 years, I understand what's going on. I've seen the weaponization of the ethics policy before, and it's happening again to a much greater extent, unfortunately. So the unwarranted attack on our representative Karen Emery and two other representatives from two other villages is threatening Columbia as an open and caring community, and that bothers me a lot. I think it's taken a serious turn for the worse, and I ask this village board to do everything it can to defend Karen's right to continue to be the council representative as well as a CA board member. Because the bylaws, in effect, say that, as you said, it's the people of this village that decide who is elected or removed from the Columbia Council representative. And once the Columbia Council meets at its annual meeting, the bylaws say that the Columbia Council representative shall be appointed to the board of CA. So there's no question that Karen not only has to continue as a Columbia Council member, because the CA board has no authority to remove her from that position, but even then, at the annual meeting, the bylaws say that the council member, like Karen, has to be appointed to the CA board. So that's my comment, and I hope to do everything possible that you can to defend her, use any resources you feel you need to use to make sure that Karen continues in her very important role, and so that Oakland Mills is not disenfranchised. Because this isn't just about Karen, it's about disenfranchising villages, 3 villages. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Okay. One online, Jessica S. online.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I sort of understand that you have stated that we aren't discussing specifics about what happened the other night, but I, as a resident here, genuinely would like to encourage Karen to make some sort of statement tonight in regards to what happened, because from where I stand and where my particular neighborhood here in Oakland Mills stands, none of us knew any of this was going on until maybe last Tuesday or Wednesday, when the Baltimore Banner wrote an article, and then I guess it was Friday that the other local article came out explaining that the removals had happened. And from my perspective, all I'm seeing is nearly $700,000 not being spent on neighborhood infrastructure, pools, paths, whatever. Talbot Springs Pool is my local pool, and rarely I would like to hear from Karen directly, because I do feel, based on what was presented in the articles, that there is a very serious issue at hand. And based on the previous comment that was just made, it sounds like there are very opposing views of what took place. But all I know is that $700,000 did not go to the community. It went to lawyers. And I find that absolutely preposterous. So I hope someone on the board decides to make some kind of statement explaining exactly what's been going on.
Thank you. So the point of clarification, because I'm not sure which board you're referring to. Our village board here had absolutely no involvement or contact from the CA until it happened. If you're referring to the CA board, you may want to consider going to one of their resident speak outs with that question, but I'll also turn it over to Karen.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very frustrating to me, because right now I'm sitting on a newsletter which is a complete explanation of the events that happened that I can't release until I have it reviewed, to make sure that I'm not divulging something that hasn't already been divulged on the CA website. It's one of those things where the entire thing, everything that has happened was happening behind closed doors, and we were prevented from sharing any information with you. So I'm very sorry that you. I'm very sorry that CA is not spending the residents' money well. That is a problem. I don't disagree with that. And I would just ask for everyone's patience, and that I will hopefully be sending something out to the entire community within the next few days, which is my perspective on the events that have taken place over the last many months.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ms. Karen. Okay, back to the room. Joel Hurwitz.
Evening. For the record, Joel Hurwitz, member of the Harper's Choice Board, speaking for myself. I think I agree generally with everything the chair said earlier, and what Alex also said. With the separation of Columbia Council. When Alan Klein was removed from the board, I was asked as a board member to move him, and I did analysis governing documents and compared them to Long Beach, which added some from the original, and Town Center. And I think your documents, from what I've looked at, are fairly identical to Harper's Choice's. And I can conclusion and still believe, and this is all my common sense blog online, that the boards have no authority to remove their Columbia Council reps, which I think the chair alluded to. They're elected by the members. And part of the problem, I realized at the time with Alan, as a member of a separate corporation, why do I have to enforce somebody else's internal policies and politics, including, I pointed out, violation of their email policy. And it turns out that Karen's thing morphed into violating the email policy. And I see no reason for your board to have to deal with CA's internal rules on that regard. The problem that I think your board should be working on is that, and I have made numerous resident speak outs and emails over the last several years, that the Columbia Council meeting should be first in the organizational meeting, because the Articles of Incorporation of all the villages say that the Columbia Council is supposed to nominate and the members of CA do the electing. And the council has not been having meetings to do the nominating. They have a pro forma meeting to elect a chair and a vice chair and approve the minutes of the previous year, which was the same as that, and then they adjourn. So their one job is to nominate, and the three of them, I believe, and I think your position is they're still on the Columbia Council, so you should be urging CA to have that meeting first, and then there are a lot of complicated legal issues dealing with, from what Alex said, they basically amended the charter provision by the ethics policy.
30 seconds.
So, which they shouldn't do. But legally, if they put it in the charter, they could do the removing, but it's not in the charter because, again, your articles of incorporation say all is provided in this CA, the CPRA charter, which is what ties the villages to Columbia Council to CA. So I urge you, at a minimum, to work on enforcing the Columbia Council meeting next month.
Thank you. Was there anyone else online?
I don't see
Okay.
anybody else.
I think a couple people joined the room after I picked up the clipboard. Did anyone else in the room want to participate and speak out? Going once, going twice. All right. We are on to new business, and I will have a little bit more about this a little later in the meeting in my board chair report. So, stay tuned. Maybe it'll keep you watching as we conduct our business. Okay, new business, Brigida. We need a recording of Rex Barney if we're going to do thank yous. If anyone knows what I'm referring to.
I don't,
No,
but I'll
just
pretend like I do.
badly, but the old public address announcer at Memorial
okay.
Stadium. He was a pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I'm just dating myself. Anyway, he concluded every announcement at Memorial Stadium with thank you.
Well, what it is, it's the end of the board year. Another full board year has ended, and I just would be remiss without, from myself and the staff and the residents, to thank all of you for your service to Oakland Mills on the board. There's always some new fun challenges, and it's always, everybody's always up to the task, and I enjoy our conversations. I enjoy everybody's insights. And so I just wanted to say thank you, and know how much myself, the staff, the residents, we all appreciate all the hours and time, energy, time away from home, time away from your family that you spend to give to Oakland Mills. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for the gift.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We couldn't do what we do without you and Amy and
Great.
the professional staff we have here. So you do a whole lot to make us look good, and I'm probably up here making a fool of myself half the time. So, do you really think our challenges have been fun? They've been new, but do you think they've really?
So every day I walk in and Amy and I
now?
discuss how much fun the
Yeah.
challenges are.
Yeah. Fun.
And I
Yeah.
included Amy in the thank you because Amy sits at all the board meetings, make sure we're organized, everything's ready, always has great insight and opinions, and is very good the next day looking up things that we're like, oh, what were they referring to? And Amy will certainly let us know. So thank you, Amy, as well, for all of your work with the board all the time.
And always giving me the cue to start the meeting, because if I didn't get the cue from Amy, I would just sit here staring till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you. And,
Thank you.
And we have Bill and Paulette online there as well. And also thank you to our residents who have gotten involved at various points along the way. Today's a better attended meeting than most, but I know because I get copied on a lot of stuff. Our residents have really come out in their own ways to support the community when called upon. And probably the biggest thing, which I guess unfortunately only went half our way, right? There's some construction over there, but not as much as we wanted. Were for the two schools on the Oakland Mills campus. I got over the years, and again this year I've been copied on many dozens of letters and emails to the Board of Education and county officials and everything. So one thing we know is that while sometimes during a village board meeting it may feel like we're sitting here in front of an empty or nearly empty room, a lot of people are tuning in and getting involved in their own way. It's just not everyone has time to come out, every other Tuesday at 7 o'clock and sit and watch us do our thing. If you have insomnia, I recommend it. We have another board coming up next year. All right, moving on to old business. So here's one fun thing to do. So speaking of investing in our community, Oakland Mills Community Association has a long and, dare I say, proud history of putting money right back into the community by making donations to nonprofit 501c3 organizations that operate for the benefit, primarily of Oakland Mills, but in many cases also for the benefit of Howard County and beyond. So normally we pass a budget and we normally pass a line item for a gross amount of donations, and we take donation requests in October of every year, which is about midway through our fiscal year. And then around November, we make a decision about how we're going to disperse those donation funds, and we disperse them before the end of the calendar year. And then we come back toward the end of our fiscal year. So if you don't know, our fiscal year runs May 1st through April 30th. So we come back as we get to the fourth quarter of our fiscal year to see, what our finances are looking like, because there's another quirk of this relationship between CA and the villages about how much we can actually carry over and how our budget works. And we consider whether we can do another round of donations. And fortunately, this year, things went well for us financially in terms of, both income and expenses. And we determined that we could do another round of donations in a total of $5,000. So per our donation policy, any organization that applied for a donation in October gets automatic reconsideration unless we fully funded their request. Any organization who meets our criteria for donation and didn't ask in October can come in and ask us now. So that's exactly what happened. At our last board meeting under new business, we looked at the organizations who made requests or the organizations that were carrying over. And then at this board meeting, we get the pleasure of deciding how we're going to disperse funds. And then the one disclosure I'll make again, because I've made several times, is one of the organizations that has always applied for funds, long before my involvement, is the Oakland Mills High School Fine Arts Boosters. But I now happen to be president of that organization as well, full disclosure. So I have nothing to do with how the donation request is written or submitted. The board handles that without me. And I only see it as it comes in. I don't see it as it goes out of Fine Arts Boosters. And then I abstain from any decision on how we're, I'll participate in conversation, but I abstain from any decision on how we're dispersing funds. So, when it comes to the Fine Arts Boosters, I sit up here and act like the representative of any other organization. I will answer questions about the organization, but I'm not going to make any comment about what that organization should get relative to any other. So I kind of remove myself. Okay, I think I've said it all, and since I do kind of remove myself, I'm going to turn it over to the board for discussion. So one of the things we agreed was that the members who are going to make the decision would sit down over a couple of weeks, look at the request, and see if they could come up with some ideas for allocation, and then see if we can arrive at a consensus for that. So with that, is there anyone who would want to take a lead in the discussion or put the first proposal up?
Yeah, I can put the proposal up. I prepared my own little draft. Amy, should I start reading them or? Yeah. Okay. So for the 3 elementary schools, I had $300 each. For anti-racist, I had $300. For Columbia Housing Center, $300. The Village in Howard, also $300. For Oakland Mills Middle School and also the Oakland Mills Middle School PTSA, I had $400 for each of them. For Luminous, I had $500. For Oakland Mills Interfaith, I had $500. For Oakland Mills High, I had $650. And for Fine Arts Boosters, I had $750.
Hey, can I ask a question? There's an Eagle Scout project in here. What did that fall under?
That was the interfaith center.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see it on the list. Okay.
Or no offense, looks like.
Okay, does that add up?
I am.
While you're doing the math, are there any comments or counter suggestions?
Andrew always does a good job dividing it up.
Yes, he does. That's why when I was seeing if anyone wants to get us started, I kind of looked at Andrew. 600, 1100,
Combine numbers too.
1750, 2500.
Yeah, it was 5,000.
That's our total amount available?
Yeah. I get it adding up to 5.
650, 750.
I have it adding up to 5.
Oh, that's where,
She's giving out a lot.
I had the wrong number. I couldn't
Okay.
hear it, so.
Okay, is there any discussion of what Andrew is proposing?
I mean, honestly, it seems like a pretty good allocation.
Thanks.
Amy said Bill would like to say. I think so.
All right, Bill, were you trying to talk?
You have your hand raised. Last time around, I think Andrew had a plan, and then Daniel made some comments. I had one, we moved toward each other, and this time around, I'm just going to go with what Andrew's got. It works for me.
Okay, very good. All right, any further discussion? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion and call a vote on Andrew's proposal?
I make a motion to approve his numbers.
All right, motion to approve as proposed from Daniel, second from Andrew. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3.
There goes Paulette.
There goes Paulette, 4. Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, so it passes 4-0-1. All right, wow,
Well done.
look at that. That was 20 minutes of old business done in 5?
There we go.
All right, well, we're on to the exciting board chair report. All right, so obviously the thing I've been most focused on is the Columbia Association and CCR situation, and really our board and the other affected boards did not get any kind of formal advance notice or outreach or anything like that from CA. I have been talking to my fellow board chairs from Long Reach and River Hill, Nina Basu and Kevin Braining, respectively. So we've just kind of been checking in on each other, seeing what's going on in the respective associations, sort of where things stand. And among the three of us, I think we're pretty well on the same page that without going into details of what's transpiring with the CA board itself, what went on behind closed doors in CA. There are definitely concerns about how CA's actions affect us as villages, and quite honestly affect the other 7 villages as well. I just haven't been speaking to them. I've been speaking to the other 2 villages affected, because as Joel so eloquently stated, each community association is an independent legal entity that has this contractual relationship with the Columbia Association. But as independent legal entities, we're all independent 501c4 tax-exempt organizations. We have our own legal governing documents. We have articles of incorporation, which are very difficult to modify. We have bylaws, which are less difficult to modify, but still require a majority vote of the association, not the board, the association. And they really determine how we not only get a village board elected, but also how we get a CCR representative elected. They do not speak to what happens if CA takes an action on a CA board member that then, I guess in CA's mind, theoretically flows through to to the CCR and back to the village. So it is a bit of a I would say a conundrum we are in, and that's what my statement was actually getting at. Having talked to both Long Reach and River Hill, I'm a little less certain on River Hill, but having talked to Long Reach, it sounds like Long Reach's legal documents are very similar to Oakland Mills. in that even if our board wanted to, we can't just take an action. If we have a vacancy, it's very clear that we can appoint. We don't have to hold an election, we can appoint a resident to fill a vacancy. And we've done that before, and there's a process we follow, to ensure it's open and fair. But we've actually had to look into this before, when it comes to the other direction. And it's pretty clear in our legal documents that it takes a meeting of the association and a majority vote of the association, AKA basically an election, or the equivalent of an election, to remove a member. And of course, that's a lengthy and also costly process. So, what has happened at CA has really, like I said, put us as a village in a bit of a bind, because they're not recognizing our duly elected representative to the CCR at this point, and we actually, as a board, don't have the ability to do a whole lot about that. And we are going to have a closed session tonight where this is going to be discussed, because as I said, there are some legal issues that we're not going to talk about in open meeting, but I have spent a good amount of time talking with both Nina and Kevin, just to see where Long Reach and River Hill stand with things. And like I said, we share these concerns about basically what takes precedence when it comes to a CA policy conflicting with legal documents governing a village. And how does all that play out? And quite honestly, we don't know. And that's part of the ongoing discussions we're going to have. But as I said in the opening, for the time being, based on our legal documents, we still consider Karen our duly elected representative to the Columbia Council. And this is where we're in that uncharted territory, because there's no playbook for what happens next, because we're in a very unique spot. So if anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer. But once you start getting into questions that start getting into legal issues, that's where I'm going to say no, can't answer that. But if you have questions about our process, certainly we can answer those, because we have our process down pretty well. We've been doing it for 55 years or more. Yes, sir.
Question. Which Maryland court would have jurisdiction to deal with what's happening right now?
Oh, see, you went right to the legal stuff.
I've always apologized for being an attorney.
I'll say this. We're not even close to that yet. So I don't know. Joel?
So they get to it, are you aware that in, I believe, all the covenants, assuming that the associations had dues, which none of them do, or if you're in violation of the covenants for your property, you are deprived of your right to vote, except for voting for the Columbia Council rep. The way that all the documents are written, you put the Columbia Council rep way up here as some important thing. So even if you're a screw up in the community and your house is a mess, you still get to vote for the Columbia Council rep. So are you aware that you got to put that relationship with CA in that contract?
I honestly, with the situation, we'd probably have to have that looked at as well. When it comes to the covenants, the Columbia Council rep does occupy a different space, much as they occupy a different space on our board as a non-voting ex officio member. So, for example, because the Columbia Council rep is not also on our architecture board like the rest of the village board is, the Columbia Council rep, never mind voting for them, the Columbia Council rep themselves doesn't have to be in architectural compliance with our covenants to be able to serve, because they are not judging the covenant compliance of others. The rest of the village board is. So yes, I'm aware there are nuances, but again, we've never had to dive this deeply into it. Alex?
I think most of us are aware that there's a hierarchy of governing documents. And it goes from the articles of incorporation, and the covenants down to the bylaws. And the rules are at the very bottom of the hierarchy, the rules like the ethics policy. So we're all aware that because of this hierarchy, the bylaws overrule whatever's done that's inconsistent in the ethics policy. So ethics policy can't change the bylaws, can't overrule the bylaws, but the bylaws can overrule the ethics policy.
I would agree with you. The only thing I'd point out here, and this is where I think we get into questions that, are probably closed session legal discussions, are I think that would be 100% true if we were talking about OMCA's articles, OMCA's bylaws, and policies adopted by the OMCA board. I think where we're unchartered here is we have another organization's policy affecting how we operate legally. And I think that's the big uncharted territory. It's never come to this point before where, basically one organization is affecting another organization in a way that the affected organization is in this bind that we're in. Yes.
Is voting for CA and Columbia Council only including residents, or does it allow more than just residents to vote?
So the only people who vote for the CA board are the 10 members of the Columbia Council itself. That's one of the odd little quirks. No one in this room other than,
I am still a member.
yeah, because you're on the CCR. Yeah, but I'm going to say this: no one in this room, other than a CA board member, is a member of CA. You may have a membership because you belong to the gym or the pool or something, but you are not a member in the same way that if you own property or rent property or have a business in Oakland Mills, you're a member of the Oakland Mills Community Association. So, when I say it takes a majority vote of our association to do something like change the bylaws or recall a member, I truly mean a majority of the voting households, whether they be owners, whether they be renters, and then the corporate votes from businesses in Oakland Mills to be able to do that. So I hope that answered your question. But basically, the people who can vote in our annual village election are the same people who can vote for the CCR.
So they're just members of whoever they're from.
Right. So if you, the simplest way to put it is if you live, I mean, there's corporate votes and things like that, but the simplest way to put it for most residents is if you live in Stevens Forest, Thunder Hill, or Talbot Springs on CA assessed property, because we do have some out parcels, then you have the right, or your household, it's one vote per household, has the right, with some exceptions because of covenant issues and other stuff, there's always asterisks, but generally, your household has the right to vote in our election to elect our village board as well as our Columbia Council representative. If you live, for example, over in Jeffers Hill, you would be voting in Long Reach's election.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
There's one resident with their hand up.
Yes, online. Burnell's St. Cyr.
Hello. It's Janae St. Cyr.
Oh, hi, Janae.
I'm using my husband's account. Hi everyone. I have a question about the representation on the CA board. So the CCR rep, or I don't really know what that stands for. Is it the Columbia Council representative?
Yes.
Okay. So each village has a representative on the CA board. Is that correct?
Do you want me to explain all this?
Technically, each village has a representative on the Columbia Council. Normally what happens is the Columbia Council then appoints itself as the directors of the Columbia Association Board. And what Columbia Association's staff would say is that the members of the Columbia Association Board don't represent a village, they represent the board. They represent the village on the CCR, which basically does nothing other than elect itself to the board. But I'll also turn it over to Karen for some deeper insight, because you go through the orientation and everything.
It can be very confusing. Yeah. So we live, when you're talking about the Columbia Association, we live in a 3-tiered system. The CA board, their responsibility is governance. The CA president, their responsibility is operations. And the villages, their responsibility is electoral. The villages vote for the Columbia Council rep. The Columbia Council rep goes to the first meeting of the term. Every year, we do this every year in May. And the council rep votes themselves onto the CA board of directors. And they are the CA board of directors. And then we don't have a council rep meeting the rest of the year. Now, this changed, Alex probably remembers, but it changed years ago. It used to be every other meeting, it would be a council rep meeting. And it was important because the council reps actually do represent the residents of their village. The board members have, I wrote about this in my newsletter last year when I wrote about how the ethics policies are going to become problematic. And I also wrote about the 3 duties that you have when you're on the board: a duty of loyalty, a duty of care, and a duty of obedience. And the duty of obedience, I believe, I'm doing this from memory, guys, so you guys can check me out, is you want to make sure that the organization is following the law, right? You want to make sure that it's following its own bylaws, it's adhering to its governance documents. That's the duty of obedience. The duty of care is making sure that you're making knowledgeable decisions when you're on the board. So that's the duty of care. And then the duty of loyalty is that you don't have any conflicts of interest. Okay, so those are the 3 duties that the board members have, and that's what they're supposed to act on. Well, thank you. Jonathan found it. Yeah, so duty of loyalty, acting in good faith and avoiding any conflict of interest. I got that one right. Duty of care, acting in the same manner as a reasonably prudent person. And duty of obedience, ensuring the organization complies with all laws, reporting requirements, and adheres to the corporation's bylaws and articles. Right? Those are the 3 duties that the board members have. So, I mean, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes. So as your Columbia Council rep, and as the person who's on the CA Board of Directors, which I believe technically I still am, but that will be determined by other people than me. But if the organization brings something forward that I think doesn't benefit the residents of Columbia, then I am not usually in favor of it, unless there's some profound reason as to why we shouldn't be doing it. And so that's how I've always conducted myself on the board. I want to know that our finances are clean. I want to make sure that your money is being spent responsible. This is why I completely understand when Jessica asked her question earlier. How did $700,000 get spent on legal fees? And I cannot wait to explain to you what's going on with that and why everyone in Columbia should be outraged that $700,000 is being spent and what it's being spent for. But until my newsletter gets reviewed by someone, I can't go into super detail on that. And I apologize, because for everyone who knows me, you know that the newsletter is something that I live by, and I want to keep you guys completely informed of everything that's going on, and I want to tell the story. And so for the past several months, with all of this stuff happening behind closed doors, it's been very upsetting. And one of the things that is really concerning to me is exactly what I said in my July newsletter, is that these policies will lead to the disenfranchisement of villages. And Oakland Mills, while we're not the largest village, we are an incredibly diverse village, racially and financially. And so that seems like a really bad thing to do to our village. And the same thing, Longreach is the largest village in Columbia, and they have a demographic very similar to ours. So I just think that at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about whether you guys get to choose who represents you or not. And that is a big deal. You know, if the board says, oh, we're going to hold another election to see whether or not the residents want to remove Karen, that's totally fine. But you should be upset that the CA board just took away your choice of who you want to represent you. So I don't know, hopefully I didn't go down too many.
No, you did a great job. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
So my follow-up to that is how the governance of the CA board works in terms of going about their day-to-day business and conducting business and their being in accordance with the duties of obedience and care. Are they able to vote without representation?
Well, right now, Oakland Mills is being denied their vote. Long Reach is being denied their vote, and River Hill is being denied their vote. So the last meeting of the term was last Thursday. So the new term starts on May 14th. So we shall see what happens on May 14th. But right now, those three villages are being denied representation on the board of directors.
But by their bylaws, they would be able to continue without representation?
Yes, they can, and you will have
Okay.
no representation. You know, one board member from one of the villages has not shown up to a single meeting in months. That village has gone without any representation while we were discussing some significant things. I mean, it was announced in the news that the president just signed a new contract. One thing is, I would love to share with you how much compensation the new president is receiving. I have been told that we are not allowed to share that, but hopefully all the residents will write in and request to see a copy of the president's new contract, because we were also told that residents can write in and you can see a copy of the contract, but we're being told that we can't tell you that. But the missing member didn't participate in any of those conversations. So one village had no say in all those conversations about how the president was going to be compensated.
Won't that be on the public 990 anyway?
But it won't be there for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a delay.
Okay.
So it would be nice if everybody
Okay,
knew.
yeah, okay.
I would like everyone to know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
On the board, the CA board, besides the CCRs, who else is on the board?
It's just the 10 CCRs.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. That the Columbia Association only has 10 members. It's 10 board members. So again, that's where it's a little different. You know, this board, because this board represents the members rather than being the members for OMCA, we're limited in actions we can take when it comes to, you know, our membership, our legal documents, etc. There's not a whole lot we can do in that territory without basically a vote of our membership. You know, we can do architectural stuff, we can do financial stuff, you know, within certain limits, but when it comes to, you know, things like fundamentally changing our structure or our membership or something like that, we are much more limited. Okay, anything else on that? All right, well, one other thing to report, and Bill and Brigida, feel free to weigh in. Yesterday, Bill, Brigida, and I met with the representatives of the new ownership of Forest Ridge. And I felt that it was a very positive meeting. In fact, I've seen the email traffic going back and forth today. So, you know, it sounds like they are invested in the Forest Ridge community to the point that sometime in the not too distant future, I think they're planning, you know, major renovations, because it is a 55-year-old apartment complex. In the interim, they're doing some other things, you know, just to take care of stuff that needs to be taken care of now. Like I recall them mentioning making some electrical upgrades, you know, doing a few other things. But it was, you know, I think I want to say we got off on the right foot, because it was what I would say it was a productive meeting. They were, you know, very receptive to the things we were asking about, things we were saying, you know, want to know things about, like, for example, our commercial non-residential architectural process before they start making any exterior changes to the property. You know, definitely heard a concern I raised about residents being a little confused right now about where to turn for help on maintenance and other types of issues. Again, overall, I think a positive, and I think we just need to, you know, stay in touch with them and keep on them to ensure that they're doing the best by the residents over in Forest Ridge, because obviously that that complex, basically since its construction, has served a special purpose in terms of providing low-income housing to people who otherwise may not be able to live in our community. And Enterprise was stewards of that for many, many years, and they've since sold that off. And I think hopefully if the people we talk to follow through with what they were saying, it should be for the better of the residents of Forest Ridge in the coming years. Bill, Brigitte, did you want to add anything to that?
You pretty much said it all, Jonathan. What we did do, we welcomed them, and then we made them very aware of a lot of the information that we have on our excellent website that would concern them. For example, the commercial non-residential architectural guidelines, the process for change, etc., and a couple other documents, the Village Center Community Plan that was put together in 2015 that says here's what the village would like to see in terms of development in and around the village center. And let's see, there was another document, a couple other legal documents, a zoning document, and then a map of the village and the neighborhoods, so that try to orient them to Oka Mills. They're part of a very large corporation, and we wanted to make sure that they felt welcome here. Also, one of the people on the call, his field office is Rockville, and he's a lifelong Maryland resident. So I felt very good about that he's very aware of Columbia and potential, I won't call them idiosyncrasies, but special aspects of being a property owner here and looking at potential redevelopment 3-4 years down the road. So overall, I felt it was an excellent meeting. We got off to a great start, and that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Brigitte, anything else?
No, I don't have anything to add. It was a good meeting, and they were very responsive in setting up the meeting and then following up today. Yeah. So.
All right. That's all I have, unless there are any other questions for me. Otherwise, I'll send it over to Karen for a CCR report.
Well, it's going to be very brief.
Well,
Well, I mean, first of all, for everybody that showed up today because of this issue, I'm really glad to see you. For everybody who's online, people who are here in the room, because I think that one of the things that really concerns me is that Oka Mills is unique, and I wrote about this in my March newsletter, I think, that Oka Mills is very lucky. We have an incredibly engaged community. People are well informed of the issues, and it really is, it makes it nice for me as your CCR rep. But I want to tell you guys that since I've been on the Columbia Association Board of Directors, the first year that I was on the board, I was able, with the help of residents and a few other board members, we got WSSI to pull out of a destructive stream restoration. So on my first year on the board, we protected 140 acres of open space in Longreach and Owen Brown, and we prevented the clear cutting of thousands of trees in that area. That area would have been devastated for 50 years or more. We would, in our lifetimes, we would not have seen the recovery. And if you want to know what a horrible stream restoration looks like, go over to Joel's Village and look at what they did at Longfellow. They've got a 2-mile stretch of open space that's just been destroyed, and it's pretty much just a swamp now. That cost WSSI, if they'd been able to do that stream restoration, they would have sold green credits on the open market for tens of millions of dollars. So there were probably people that were really upset by that. The other thing is, last year, I worked really closely with the village when CA was trying to take over the management of the CA facilities. I worked really closely with the villages because I felt that it would be financially a negative financial situation if we gave that up. And the majority of villages around Columbia did not want that either. And so we pushed back really hard on that. And I think that probably also didn't make people happy. But that is what the residents and the villages said that they wanted. And so, like I said, if it doesn't benefit you guys, I'm not voting for it as the board member. Additionally, I have been hearing noises of the the CA staff wanting to raise our annual charge and raise the cap on the annual charge. We do not have a choice about paying that lien every year. When you get that bill, you're not a tenant. Tenants, if the landlord is not treating tenants well, tenants can take their rent and put it into an escrow account until the landlord behaves better. We do not have that option here as living in Columbia. We have to pay that lien. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting really good value out of that. So a couple meetings ago, the CFO, who I do like, Sean McCollum, I think he's a decent CFO, talked about how financially healthy CA is, but he also talked about the fact that our expenses in a couple years are going to skyrocket. So of course we want to know why are our expenses so high, and these are the questions that I ask. And I do think that I've made people uncomfortable with questions. So has Eric, so has Reg. And Eric said to us the other night, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing your job. And whoo, I am very uncomfortable right now. This is not a fun situation. But at the end of the day, it's about you guys. And the more involved, the more people that are involved, the easier it'll be for your council rep, and easier to be for the other council reps, frankly, to make sure that we're still getting a good return on investment for that annual lien. So that's all I'm going to say, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
All right, Brigitte, our last operations update of the fiscal year.
So we have closed out a lot of our events. We had our last Lively Arts concert on April 17th, and it was a great turnout. We had the Journey School here from across the street, and lots of other little ones who came to sing with us. So it'll be back in October. And we also had our native plant share and giveaway with Yards Alive on Saturday, which was very full. CA gave us 100 native perennials to give away, and then also people brought native plants to share, and so did Yards Alive. So we had that, and then we had some crafts out front, and although it was a little chilly, we had a lot of people, so it was a very good event. But our big event is coming up on Saturday for anybody who, even amidst the cold temperatures, is looking forward to flowers. We have our big annual flower sale, which all the proceeds from that sale go directly back into the community for cul-de-sac beautification funds and block parties. So the flowers are beautiful. It fills up our whole area here, and so if you want some flowers and you're free on Saturday, come by between 9 and 1, and we will be here. And then, of course, the farmers market, other big news. I've been working with them, so they will be back beginning on Mother's Day, May 10th, in the Village Center between 9 and 1. So also very excited about that. And I don't know if any of you have walked around the Village Center. I have been working with Klein and the police department about the area surrounding the Second Chance building. They're probably tired of getting emails, but I have been working with them to clean that area up, to really do some repairs. They have removed one of the dumpsters that was overflowing. So between myself and our covenant advisor for property violations, Karina, we've been taking regular strolls around that area to check it out. I think those are the big announcements. We are getting ready to start our busy rental season. So we were able to purchase some new items because, of course, after many, many weddings and events here, things start to wear out. So we had to replace some things. So that will start in May, and it ramps right up to every weekend being busy. So yeah, and again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to all the committees, the board members, the RAC, everybody who participated in Oakland Mills Community Association this year, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Brigitte.
Thank you, Brigitte. Okay, we are on to final committee reports of the year, if any. Andrew always has something interesting at the end of the year for architecture.
Yeah.
You have your stats, don't you? You're not going to disappoint.
That's right.
He's got his stats. All right. Hold on, everyone.
Okay, so Yeah, so Architecture Committee, this is the semi-annual inventory of all the applications that we've had over the past 6 months. We had received 67 applications. The highest month was November, we had 22 applications. The lowest month was March, we had 5 applications. For fiscal year 2026, the highest month was August, which we had 30 applications, and lowest was March, 5 applications. This year we have had a few, it was slightly down the number of applications from last year. This year it was 192. Last year we had 211. I believe that's probably just standard deviation, but AI was uncertain because I didn't have prior year's data. And then so I have the list of all of the different application types. Similar to the previous 2 years, the most common application type was removing or replacing a decaying tree. There were 14 applications of that type. The next most was installing, replacing, or extending a patio, 10 applications over the past 6 months, all of these over the past 6 months. Next most common was replacing or painting a door, either a front door or a back door, including trim and side lights, 9 applications of that type. The next most common was installing solar panels, 7 applications. The next was installing, replacing, or repainting a fence, 6 applications. Replacing or repainting siding, 6 applications. Replacing a roof, 6 applications. Installing, replacing windows, including frame or trim, 6 applications. Constructing a building addition, 5 applications. Painting or replacing shutters, 4 applications. Installing, repairing, or replacing a deck, 4 applications. Replacing, repainting gutters or downspouts or eaves or fascia or soffit, 4 applications. Installing or replacing a shed, 3 applications. Painting a shed, 1 application. Removing a shed, 1 application. Installing or extending garden or mulch beds, 3 applications. Adding or installing a privacy wall or fence, 3 applications. Installing, adding a gazebo, 2 applications. And then adding a canopy, 1 application. Installing or replacing hand railing, 2 applications. To screen in an existing porch or deck, 2 applications. Changing or replacing trim only around doors and windows, 2 applications. And then there were a number of application types that only had 1 application per type. Those are the following. Adding plant hangers, 1. Removing a planter box. Removing a porch. Replacing or extending a driveway. Adding a retaining wall. Installing or replacing outdoor lighting, regrading a lawn with county approval also, adding a walkway, painting brick, replacing a garage door, installing EV home charging station, installing a pool and diving board, converting a carport into a garage, putting up a giraffe lawn ornament, adding a balcony or terrace, extending a tiki bar, adding an outdoor grill, installing a skylight, and there was one for removing a skylight, removing a wood stove chimney, and putting up new address numbers. So those were all the applications. I had some comments. Of the 7 solar panel applications, 6 of them came in before the end of the year where the federal tax credit expired, and just 1 afterwards, which would be completely expected. And then 6 months ago in the inventory, I had been wondering about like whether that we had change in patterns and whether that would return to normal. For instance, installing hand railings had a big increase, and I thought that was just a temporary increase, and it turned out it was, and it returned to normal. And the same thing with replacing or extending driveways. And let's see, I think that is all of my notes. So yeah, that's it.
Well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right, now for the quiz. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, education, real quick. Obviously, there's in the coming year, or probably more, there's more to be done in terms of getting Oakland Mills High School renovated, or heck, maybe they'll wait so long that we'll just be demanding that they rebuild the whole thing. But obviously that's one that didn't go our way this past year. One that did go our way, if you haven't noticed recently, there's actually a structure going up at Oakland Mills Middle School. So you can actually see the addition taking shape. So that's good to hear. Let's see. Obviously the school year is wrapping up, and I think some other good news around here is this is quite honestly the first year I can recall where we were not basically rallying the community to contact some form of press or another for the type of coverage that was happening. About things that did not involve the schools, that reflected negatively, or things that did involve the schools that did not reflect positively. So I'm hoping that's a trajectory we can stay on in Oakland Mills. There's a really cool thing coming up. If you haven't done it before, I would encourage everyone to give it a try at least once. I've had the pleasure of doing it several times at a couple of different elementary schools, and that's the fifth grade simulated congressional hearings, which is a very unique thing we do here in Howard County, to the point that I've been involved in some where other jurisdictions from out of state send representatives to see how it goes here, to see if they might want to do the same thing. So the good news is, here in our village, Stevens Forest and Talbot Springs are both full. Stevens Forest will be on May 15th, Talbot Springs is June 2nd. Thunder Hill is on May 29th, they still need 3 judges. And then if you're looking at kind of the broader Oakland Mills school cluster, the feeder system, Cradle Rock is May 13th, they need a judge. Jeffers Hill is May 6th, somehow I got those out of order, May 6th, they need a judge. And believe it or not, parts of Duckett's Lane actually are feeding into Oakland Mills now via Thomas Viaduct and then into Oakland Mills High School. And they still need 7 judges. And there's a site out there, if you just Google HCPSS simulated congressional hearings, you'll get the list of every elementary school, because you can help any of them out, and they're all going to list whether there'll be a parenthetical next to the name of each school, and it'll either say full or it'll have a number, and the number will tell you how many judges they're still looking for. So, some are in good shape, and some are, in not such good shape, and really need those judges, because the kids work on this all year long. So it definitely means a lot to them to sit in front of a room of people they don't see, various people from the community who are all dressed up, nicely and everything, and basically treating them like, these young professional members of Congress. That's the way it goes. It's actually quite formal, and it's a neat experience. So I would, if you haven't done it, and you have the time, I would encourage it. Not just members of the board, but whoever is still awake and paying attention to what I'm saying. So that's all I have on education. I'll pass it to Bill for a last housing report.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan. Quickly, a few of the things that we've been working on collecting a lot of data about housing in Oakland Mills and relative to other places in the county, so we can get a feel for where we stand in that regard. We've also, like yesterday, had a meeting with the new owners of Forest Ridge, welcomed them to the community, and gave them some very important information about their potential future plans in 3-4 years for Forest Ridge redevelopment. A lot of that depends on is ruled by the end of their current financing for the complex. The same thing we've got with Verona. In the next 2 to 3 years, their financing would come due and they potentially be looking at redevelopment of some sort there. We're also working on something that's been in the works for a long time, many, many years. Alex Akimian there is very instrumental in this whole process for HOAs, like townhome associations in the county, and particularly here in Oka Mills, that where they own their own infrastructure, meaning the roadways in their development are not county roads. They are private driveways owned by the homeowners in that HOA. We've been working to try to get county help with financing infrastructure improvements. Alex was very instrumental a couple of years ago getting a state law passed that enables the county to do this. And we've been working with the county council. We have a meeting coming up with another council member. We've got 2 favorable council members right now. A third when the meeting be lined up after the county council passes its budget in May. So working toward trying to get 3 votes. We're getting closer. And that's taken many, many years. And if you ever want to get involved with the community, some things are short-term, some are long-term. Something like this is long-term. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but it's very important for people to be involved. Resident participation is critical. That's the housing. I will roll into open space. We're working on a lot of different ideas with open space. We're, again, working on collecting information as much as we can about how open space is used by you, the residents, and ideas that we have, strictly ideas. Don't call it a plan. Don't tell people, hey, here's what's going to happen. No, strictly an idea. Might never happen, okay? One idea with open space is mini rec parks, that areas that have equipment play areas, or what used to be called tot lots, now equipment play areas, that could be expanded so that the equipment there could be used by young kids and older kids, basically 2 through 12 age. Those areas, couple them with a lot of benches and tables and mode areas right there so that it becomes a multi-generational gathering place. And that's an idea. So the mode areas, you could have the older kids maybe kicking a soccer ball around, throwing a football around, throwing frisbee, something like that. So that's just one idea. There are many other things that we're working on. And again, the key to making any board like our board or committees that our board has, making that work is resident participation. And I understand we've got a real difficult situation to deal with our Columbia Council and the Columbia Association Board. And many of you are here online and in person tonight because of that. Also consider being active during the good times when everything is flowing well. Be involved because you can have a great deal of input and control over what goes on. I think I've been on the Oka Mills Village Board 15 years. I did 4 years, 99 to 03, and then started back on the board again 2014. I am amazed, absolutely amazed at all the things I've been able to accomplish. One guy, long-term, getting involved. It takes a lot of hard work, but don't think the system is too big to get involved, that I don't know enough to get involved. You will learn, okay? You will learn. So please look at involvement if you can, and good times, and along with the bad, which right now, tough times, we've got a lot of turnout, but consider in the good times having this kind of turnout too. So thank you, and I'll be back again next year doing the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, to roll into public space, I'll also harp off of what Bill was saying, is that this is my first year on the board. I had absolutely no idea what the board did. And I had no experience doing anything like that. So you get to learn. If you want to get involved, you just gotta buck up and do it. But to give a brief update on what we got going with public space, the only real major project that's going to be affecting us is that new trail at the end of Stevens Fort. It's going to be heading to Lake and McKinley. The process involves reworking the intersection at Stevens Fort and Broken Land. That should begin sometime in the middle of the summer. That's basically the only thing that's going to affect us. Currently, you should see increased signage, some new bike lanes. Hopefully it's a little easier to get through and you don't have people awkwardly trying to go straight in that one right turn lane, which they've been doing for 30 years. At least 30 years, probably more than that. I'm only 30. But that's basically all I've got for you guys.
You like to remind us of that a lot.
You got one young person, so you might as well enjoy that. But that's all I got. So here's to another year of doing whatever we do here.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Dan, I just want to point out, when I started on this board, I was in my 30s. I was 6'4".
But you kept your hair though, so that's okay.
That's right, you've got a great head of
That's
hair.
all I got. I kept my hair. That's all I got. Yep. This is what it did to me.
Shrunk you.
Okay, Paulette, Tenant Committee.
She's there.
Paulette.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the button.
No, it happens to me all the time. Ask Brigitte about yesterday.
I don't really have much to share, just that I'm still trying to get Autumn Crest involved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're
Keep
welcome.
working on them. As Bill said, persistence pays.
Yep.
Okay. So we are going to have a closed session tonight for obvious reasons. The way closed sessions work are when we close the session, we ask everyone who is not involved in the business we're about to discuss to go to the waiting room on Zoom and go to the lobby here. You're welcome to stay. When we come out of closed session, the only thing we do in open session is announce the outcome of the closed session to the best we can. So, if you decide to leave, that's all you're missing, and it'll be in the minutes, and you'll know. But to save you the trouble of waiting around if you don't want to, we're going to do the board bulletin board now. That'll be our last open business, other than announcing the outcome of the closed session. Immediately after the bulletin board, we'll have the vote to go into closed session, and at that point, we'll begin clearing the room. It's not that we don't want you with us, it's that we can't. All right, so Amy, we'll start with you.
Oh, gosh. I didn't think ahead. There's probably nothing, so I'll say nothing.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say, if anybody, either residents or on the board, is available on Saturday and has a couple hours that they'd like to assist, we could always use volunteers. So just contact Amy. You can call or email. We'd love to have you. It's not hard. It's just the initial rush of the first 2 hours. We definitely need a few extra hands. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to reiterate my thank yous and pass it on to Karen.
I'll check my schedule on Saturday. I promised one of the county executive candidates I would knock doors, so I just have to look at my schedule. But if I can, I will be here. That's all I got.
Yeah, it was a good year, and I'm looking forward to next year starting in 2 weeks. So nice serving with you guys.
Yeah, we'll just run it back again. I got nothing else.
All right, Bill.
I want to say thanks to Brigitte and her staff. Another excellent year of support and activities and creativity. I want to thank all the board members for another wonderful year, and thanks for not killing me in the process. I appreciate that. You were gentle with me. And I want to thank the residents for all of their support along the way. And for me, I'm looking forward to coming back to the board again next year. Dan is the young guy on the board, and I'm the old guy, and I have a lot of enthusiasm still. So thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Paulette?
I heard you. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for everything. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Paulette. Okay, as I said, that concludes almost all of our open business, other than announcing the outcome of the closed meeting. At this time, we do need, well, I shouldn't say we have to vote. I recommend that the board go into a closed session under the Maryland Homeowners Act, under the Maryland Homeowners Association Act. We would be going into a closed session for the purpose of consultation with staff, personnel, consultants, attorneys, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation. Is there a motion to close the session? Okay, motion from Andrew. I'll take a second from Dan. All in favor of closing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't get a vote, but I'm counting the votes online. Okay, so at this time we are going to be going into closed session. So for our closed session, we need the 5 voting members of the board. We need the CCR rep, and we need the village manager to stay. And we thank everyone else for attending. You are welcome to stay in the Zoom waiting room or in the other barn lobby if you'd like to come back at the end. But we totally understand if you don't want to wait us out. What's that?
Want to talk later?
Yeah, I'll talk to you later, Joel. Thanks.
Or should I stay?
No, don't stay. You can if you want, but you don't have to. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. I know, I was just thinking that.
Does anyone need a break before we